Hello and welcome again to What If Natives Won, a video blogging channel about alternate history, American Indians, Native Americans, indigenous peoples. This is the 10th video of 27 planned ones. My name is Carroll. I'm Associate Professor of History at Northern Virginia Community College. I've written mostly about wars, veterans, human rights, and genocide. I'm also, together with Rob Schmidt of Bluecorn Comics, editing and putting out a short story collection, What If Natives Won. That's what this video blogging channel are about. There's a huge lack of alternate history written about American Indians, indigenous people. Many people don't like to think about genocides in America. They likely were never taught about them. Many don't want to be reminded, want to believe these genocides never happened, or it was an accident. I've had great success using alternate history to teach my students, show them that absolutely nothing in history was inevitable. It never had to be. The worst of human history is always a conscious choice. How things turn out is based on how evil the evil choose to be, and how well and how strongly good people choose to stand up to them or stop them. The way things turn out in history took a very specific set of circumstances. Sometimes history can turn on very small things. Change even one, and you have an entirely different history, different present, different society. It may be hard to hear this, but we live right now in a dystopian world, one of the worst of all possible outcomes for anyone who is not white. America is today 98% non-native. At least 75 million to 112 million natives were killed by not one genocide, but a series of them. There were many genocides, the last of them ending only in the year 2000, in America, Brazil, Canada, Guatemala, Argentina, Mexico, and elsewhere. On top of that is massive genocide denial. This is not taught in almost all American schools. There are racist images everywhere that are often not admitted to be racist. But all this could change if two of the most famous English colonies in America fail. Every American school kid knows the story of the colonist hardships. Most of them know how many died from hunger and disease and their own incompetence. There are all kinds of myths about them, that they came for freedom when they actually came for profit, that they were religious when most were not, that Thanksgiving supposedly shows natives were treated well, and the lie that Pocahontas saved John Smith. How could they have failed? Very easily. Roanoke Colony failed before them. Both colonies succeeded only by using forced labor. At Jamestown, most colonists were indentured servants, basically temporary slaves, usually for 7 years, later joined by permanent African slaves. Plymouth Colony was under martial law. Workers worked by drumbeat, much like slaves on a galley ship. There is not just one way these invaders could have failed, but many. Their ships could have sunk at sea. Disease could have killed more of them. At Jamestown, Bacon's rebellion could have overthrown the colonial government. Opechancanough, the poet and leader, could have wiped the invaders out. In our own time, he succeeded in killing a third of them. At Plymouth, the Wampanoag could have allied with another tribe instead of the colonists, or a nearby tribe could have wiped them out. Or Spaniards could attack Jamestown, and the French could attack Plymouth. The Dutch invaded in 1621 in what is today New York. The Swedish invaded in 1638 in what is today New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Either or both of them could also have wiped out Jamestown and Plymouth. Some might say other colonists would still come. Not necessarily true. When Spanish colonies in the southeast failed, as I talked about last video, Spaniards quit trying to colonize the area. It is possible to imagine the east coast of America, from the Carolinas to Maryland, as kind of a neutral ground, accepted as a buffer, the same way Thailand was a buffer in Asia between the British and French. Many more natives in the area survive, and that certainly is native victory. If the English are replaced by French colonists, that is better for them. French came over in fewer numbers, didn't deliberately spread disease as the English did with smallpox blankets, and they didn't segregate, mixing freely to become Métis people. It's also true for Spaniards, as I discussed in the last video about La Florida. If there were a French-controlled area from Quebec down to Chesapeake Bay and west to Louisiana Territory, this would be a larger French fur trading colony, more than 90% native. It also would be native victory. As for Dutch and Swedes, when their empires start to fade, that will be better for natives. Both colonies, in our own time, didn't get much larger than one river valley. The Swedish Empire was over by the 1720s. The Dutch Empire in the Americas mostly stayed on the coast and was gone by the 1780s. In other places like Indonesia, the Dutch didn't have much power to continue to dominate them economically or culturally once they were kicked out. All of these are likely reasons why seeing these English colonists defeated and possibly others replace them, only for a short time, would be a native victory. This is the end of the 10th video. I look forward to your comments and questions and will answer them as often as I can. Racism, genocide denial, childish behavior, or personal attacks get deleted. But I do recognize some questions will be asked in ignorance because much of the facts I point to are new to most people. They were never taught about this. They've been raised in denial since denying indigenous genocides is taught in almost all public schools. Next time we will discuss what if American colonists lose and how this will help Native people. Please repost freely, subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll post again in about a week. This has been What If Natives Won video blog and channel.